Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is David from Daveden Web Dev. If you can see me, you can hear me, let me know in the comments. Unfortunately, my chat is not working today, so I cannot show the chat on screen, but I hope everything goes well. So yeah. Okay, so hashtag #info, okay. Okay, yes, so that's good. If you want to use hashtag I for info, yes, that is perfectly fine. Then let me be seeing if I can actually set up the chat to show on screen. But for now, it's not showing on screen. But yeah, let me know in the comments. I put a poll up. Which builder are you more excited for? There is Builderius, there is Oxygen 6, we have Elementor version 4, and Edge. I think those are the 4 builders that are currently in beta or alpha and will be released today. So let me know. And let me quickly continue checking the settings of my chart. If I can quickly find it. Okay, this is the chart. And let me just switch the screen so you can be seeing the changelog while I try to set up the chart. Okay, so that's the changelog for version 1.0.5, which is already available in the WordPress repository. So you can just go ahead and download it now and test it out for yourself. It is the free version. The pro version will be released sometime this year, but right now we really have the free version. Okay, let's see. So let me go to my settings. Dark mode. Let me see. I'm just trying to see if I can quickly set up the pop-out chat. Okay, overlay menu. No. What did I do before? Message styling? No. Visibility. Okay, let me see. Maybe I should try switching the chat and see if that will work for me. So I'll switch this one, go to my OBS Studio, because I use OBS Studio for my live streams. Okay, so anyway, I think maybe for today we may not be able to use the chat option. Yeah, I should always, you're right, I should always keep testing is always important. I keep leaving it to the last minute because I changed my setup, and now when I put the live chat, I realize that the chat is not styled properly. So if I switch over to the chat, you can see the charts are just showing everything on screen. So it's not what I was expecting. So let's see if I can fix it. Yeah. Okay, so ACF. So yeah, the first question says, so I'll have to read the question out. So it says, can you take a look at how Builderius can set up to use ACF dynamic data? The data source input field is a bit confusing as to how you can reference a custom post type and custom fields. Okay, so let me see if I can do that. So I'll add that to the questions and we'll answer it soon. But first, I'll just run through the changelog. And before we go there, so let me just quickly write the question down somewhere so I don't forget. Yeah. Okay, Builderius can. Okay, so there's already an answer in the chat. It says just search for ACF when you are inserting the data and then you get your answer. But we'll take a look very soon. Okay, so now let's start. The first thing is, let's see the highlights of, let's just go through the changelog and see what the changelog says. Once we finish with the changelog, I will go through some of the questions that I saw in the group chat, that's on the Facebook group, I mean, and then we'll go to any of the questions that the users are having. So bear with me, but I'll be making sure I jot down all of your questions. Okay, so for the changelog, the first thing we can see here, they say we have the media library now accepts WebP, AVIF, HEIF, and SVG uploads. So we'll go ahead and try it out. So I'll go over to the, let me just open a new page so that this can always be open. And okay, so we'll go to a page and let me maybe open the home page that we were building the other day. So now, before we could only use JPEG and PNGs and some other formats, but now we can add any other format that we want. So let's say, let me come to a new section. So I'll close all of these sections and say on the main tag, let me add a new section. And within that section, within the container, I'm holding Shift key. That's why the element inserter did not disappear. If you don't hold Shift key, the element inserter will go off. So I'm trying to add an image. And the image, see, because I didn't hold the Shift key, once I click on the image, the settings for the image shows. But if I was holding the Shift key and I click on an element, then while I'm inserting the element, so let's say, for example, I'm trying to insert a link. If I hold the Shift key and I press the link, the inserter doesn't close, but the link is added to the page. Whereas if I let go of the Shift key and I press anything like maybe image, then the properties of that image shows up in the settings area. So let me go ahead and delete all of these. Okay, so for the image, now when we go into this select image, we can directly upload whatever we want directly from here. So let's see if I have any SVG image or okay, I think we have okay, I already have it. Let's see. Yeah, I already have it there. So let's go back and see. Okay, icons. Let's try with one of the icons. And see, SVG can be uploaded. Same with WebP, AVIF, and HEIF if you have those. So that's it for the image inserted. That means it's working now. The second thing that's there is the margins, padding, and corner sides are linked by default. Because there was a complaint by a user before that when you go to, let's go to like the image and we'll go under styles and try to go to the sizing options, or let's say the spacing options. See, before it was unlinked by default, so you have, and most people feel that they want to add all of those at the same time. You don't want to have to first click on the link icon before you start adding your variable. So let's say maybe space and let's say 2XL, something like that. You don't want to be, so now immediately it is adding the space to all of them. Before it will be unlinked by default and you have to start adding them one by one. So, and this brings me to my first like suggestion. So I already wrote it down somewhere here, so I think I will go through it again. But in my suggestions, I would like that, see, to apply only inline and block, because right now all we are stuck with is that we can only link everything or we link nothing. But like we have with something like maybe bricks, sometimes we just only want to link the left and right or the top and bottom. We don't want to link everything. So if there's a way to make it such that it links only side by side and top and bottom, not everything together, that would be nice. So hopefully I would add that to the feature request, but I just wanted to point it out. The other thing I noticed is that if the icons are linked and I put a variable, let's say space 2xs, something like that, and I go over to unlink it, say maybe I want to just change one of the sides. If I unlink it, it basically removes everything. So those are the two things that I've noticed, like that can be improved for the paddings and the margin, the spaces, basically. So yeah, that's it. Now let's continue with the change log. The other one is that you can use arrow key navigation in the dropdowns. I think I and some people suggested that you see with any of the dropdowns, let's say for flex properties, and let's say maybe flex, we've given it display flex. Maybe I should do it on the container so it's easy to see. I give it maybe a display flex, and it gives you further options. Okay, yeah, so Elvis has just mentioned that they will check it out for the spacing of the linking and everything. So now you see with these drop downs, because for keyboard users, we are used to the pattern that whenever there is a drop down, if you want to get access to the options in the drop down, it's using the arrow keys, so the up and down arrow keys. Before, we couldn't use the up and down arrow keys to navigate, but now they've modified the HTML code and everything, so it works well using the up and down arrow keys, and you can easily select any of the items which are in here. So what happened? Let me see. Down. What just happened? I think I'm using the. Am I using the right version? It didn't work. Let's see. Updates. Plugins. Because I know it was working before. Yeah, I'm on the right version. Why didn't it work? Refresh. Let's try again. So, oh, I didn't save the page, but yeah, let's just continue. Let's say I'm on a heading, then I go to styles, I go to layout, I choose maybe the flex and the options. Let's see, down, up and down arrow keys. I guess there's something wrong with these inputs. Oh, okay. So yes, Elvis, I just mentioned that maybe it has not yet been added to all dropdowns. So I think, which of the dropdowns should I test out? Where do we have dropdowns? FlexChild. Hello. Thanks for joining in. Sorry, I didn't pronounce. I don't want to pronounce your name wrongly, so let's just say thank you for joining in. Okay, so let's see. Okay, no. Overflow. Okay, let's see the overflow. Something. I don't know what happened. Okay, yeah, classes and variables. Okay, let's try with that first. So under variables, no, not that. Classes and vars. Okay, yeah, the other way. So this way, yeah, we have a drop down here. So let's test this one. So let's say I'm doing I'm trying to search for maybe one of my classes, which is wrapper. So I can just wait. I'm a bit lost. wrapper. I'll go back. I'll get back to this one. I'm not getting it right. But yeah, I guess I'll need to test it out properly because I know some of the options I was using, the arrow keys were working, but that was not on this test site. So that's why I'm not sure what's happening. So just add a variable to a CSS property. Okay, let's try that. So let's click on the image and so maybe CSS properties. Okay, yes. So if I say, let me give it like a width, right? Oh no, let me not break one of the styles. Let me add another section. So in the main content area, let me add a section. And that section, I can now start messing around with it. So the container, let's say I'm trying to add a width using the variable. One nice thing about Builderius is that if you want to add a variable, you can easily search within the variable by just pressing the hyphen double times. Okay. And you're there. So you can now start searching. So if I search for maybe body, I can now press down arrow key and it works. So yeah, that was where I was testing it out. It was in the classes. So yeah, thank you for telling me. So hopefully all the other inputs will have the same structure because we always want to use arrow keys to navigate when we are checking items. We don't want to be using the tab key because some people prefer the tab key, but most people, whenever they see a drop down, they expect to see using the arrow keys. And yeah, that's it. And this is one thing I like about Builderius, that they give you the option to search. So you can easily search for anything you want. So even in the selectors, you can search. In the CSS variables, you can search. Some, like Gutenberg builders, they don't give you that search option. And for me, sometimes I struggle to find options. So I like to always see a search that you can easily use to search through whatever you have, so I don't have to start scrolling down so many things. Okay, so yeah, that's it for the second one. Then the next one is that selected custom class persists when switching elements. Okay, so let's try it. So we have our elements. Oh, great. So Elvis just mentioned that currently we are missing the search within the inputs themselves because we cannot really search through the styles. But he said that there's going to be a search added so that we can also search for the styles, because right now there's no way to actually search between these styles. You can only search inside the inputs. You can search within the inputs, but to search for a CSS property, you can't search for it. So yeah, that will be added soon. So what were we trying to look at? The changelog was, we're trying to see the selectors. Selected class persists when switching elements. So let's say I'm on this element and did I add a class there? No. So the container, let's see if I go and I come back, the container still remains selected. So if I go to another element, I style that element, I come back to the container, the class is still selected. Before, it doesn't persist. So once you just mistakenly click on another element and you go back, it will go back to the root, and then you might end up styling the local class instead of styling the class name. So this is a very useful improvement so that we don't make our mistakes. I know I always like to style using global classes. I don't like only when I want to like do an override. That's when I use a local class. Most times when I'm styling, I like to use the global classes. And yeah, so that is that for the selectors. Then the next one is, this is one I was asking about, because sometimes we want to use like dynamic data in some of these areas, like the article, the section, the header, the footer, main and aside. Before, we didn't have text area, and so you had to put a div inside the elements before you can now add your content and things like that. But now they've improved it. So let's say we have the main content area. You can see that if you go to the content, you can add your content here and it has dynamic data. So let's say you're trying to pull in content from maybe your metabox field that already has like the header, the paragraph tag, and everything. You don't really want to start adding another wrapper div again. So you can just directly from this main tag, you just put the dynamic data and then you pull in your post content. So let's say content. And then you can just pull in the post content directly into the main or the article or whatever field you want to put the thing into. Because normally, you don't want to be writing HTML directly in the main or the sectioning elements like the main, the footer, the header. But sometimes when you're using dynamic data, you may want to impute it because the dynamic data already has those like rich text. So yeah. Okay. So that works. Then let's quickly go through the rest. The menu builder now adds a new elements with we've done that. So the menu builder now adds a ready to use dynamic menu complete structure to the canvas ready to go. So let's see. Previously, that was one of the fears I had when you use like you're trying to build from scratch. It can be a bit daunting when you see that menu builder because you have to build everything yourself, but now everything comes pre-added. So let's try it out. I'll go to the elements. Let's go into my section, make sure I'm on my container in my section, elements, and then I'll search for menu builder. Let's go ahead and insert it. And you see immediately it comes with everything. So it comes with a menu toggle, it comes with the nav, the UL, the template, the li, so everything just immediately populates. It's not styled because I'm using my own framework, so my framework is not styling it. If you are using the Builderius framework added, then all of the styles will have also been imputed properly, but because I said I wanted it to be a minimal framework, that's why it is looking ugly, basically. So yeah, at least that's a good thing. So now we can just immediately go into it and start working with the menu. Before you have to add the menu builder, then you have to add the menu toggle yourself, then you have to add the nav yourself, and so on. So it was creating more work for the users, but now everything is done smoothly. Okay. So that's for the menu builder. Then somebody also complained about this field, because sometimes we will want to have, when you have your attributes, there are a lot of attributes that we have attributes like required, like hidden. Those attributes are just single names. They don't really need any like equal to anything. They just need the name to be there, like hidden or required or some other area attributes. They don't have any value because they're either true or false. So they exist or they don't exist. So now when you now put those values, it will automatically remove that equal to question mark, equal to quotation mark. So let's test it out. So let's say let's delete the menu. And let's say on the header or in this container, let me add a heading widget. And within this heading widget, one nice thing about Builderius is anything that is outputted directly into the HTML is added within this content area. So anything that has to be added directly into the HTML is in the content. Anything that's added as a CSS is under styles. So there's a clear separation. There is the HTML area and then the CSS area. So when you come to content, because I tried to add an attribute is added directly into the HTML. So that's why the attribute is here under content. So I now go to the attributes and new attributes and say maybe hidden. And I save it. Let me go ahead and preview it on the front end. Something I forgot to mention at the beginning of this stream is that if you try to check the sites directly without being logged in, what you'll see is this coming soon page, basically. Because that's how I've set it up, that I've not saved the release. So right now the release that is being saved is just this coming soon page. So anything I'm doing in the builder, you cannot see it. All you're seeing is the coming soon page until I publish my release to the front end. Then you can see everything I've been doing. So yeah. So where did I add it? I added it to the heading, and I've not added any content. So let me add the content under primary and say this is a test heading. But because it's hidden, that's why you're not seeing it. So let's just give the section a background color. So let's say under backgrounds, I want to give it a color of, let me use the variable. So I'll do the double hyphen and say color, maybe primary. Okay, save it. Oh, sorry. Save, refresh the front end, and we have it here. But because I use the hidden attribute, so that's why it's not showing. So if I can now inspect the page and I go ahead and I check the container, you can see the hidden attribute doesn't have that equal to and then the blank quotation mark. So it's now very clean. That also brings me to the next point, which is the whole HTML now is as clean as it can be. As you can see, before, even when we don't style on the HTML, like we don't style on the local class, we kept getting some random class names like uni, node, xyz, something like that. But now the whole HTML is as clean as it can be. Only when I style on the root class, that's when it adds this uni, node, UC, because I styled the section on the local class. But every other thing just has some clean structure. The HTML is as clean as possible, which is what this whole stream is mostly about, to test the HTML output. And as you can see, the HTML output is so clean. There's section, because I added a class of hero, that's why there's class there. There's the other section, there was no class on it, so there's no class outputted on the front end, and so on. So everything is clean. Then the hidden is showing. So I can go ahead and remove that hidden class now. So under the heading, I can go back to the content and delete the hidden class. Or let's say, for example, let's say I wanted to add hidden equal to true, hidden, and then I say true. It will still be the same thing, but this time you can see on the front end, if I refresh, oh no, have I saved it? So, okay, yeah, because it's a Boolean hidden, oh, I think that's something that they have to work on. So let me see area expanded equal to true, save it, refresh. Okay, yeah, so area expanded equal to true. That's okay, so it works. But if I remove the area expanded and see, if I just say area expanded equal to blank, let's see what it shows. Refresh. So yeah, it will completely, if I don't put any value, it removes that equal to anything. So it just gives you the area expanded. But once I put equal to true, then it puts the area expanded equal to true as expected. So yeah, let me go ahead and delete it. Save it. And let's see if there's any other thing we need to check. Okay, so that one, we can just assume it, because basically now what happened is before someone complained. That's one thing that I like about Builderius. They've been listening to the user feedback, and the complaints that somebody had was that they didn't that the CSS was all being put in line, which is something that Bricks still does till date. I think Bricks still outputs the CSS in line. So basically inside, if you go to the header section of your Bricks website, let me see if I have anyone active. Let me switch back and go to let's say I have DD Bricks, I believe something like this. Let's go, if you inspect it, and let's view the page source, sorry. View page source, you see that a lot of the styles will be added, if I remember correctly. Oh wait, have they changed it? Yeah, so Bricks front end inline CSS. So basically most of the CSS will be added in line in the Bricks front end. So Whereas I think with Builderius, they said now everything is done in external style sheets. So let's go to Builderius. No, this is not. Let me go to the home part of the Builderius. And let's go to view page source. And you see, the only thing that is here is because I'm logged in to the admin bar. Then these are all block CSS, because all of these are coming from the admin bar. But so nothing is coming from the Builderius itself. All Builderius styles are in like global style sheets, whereas these are mostly because of the admin bar. Most of these are all admin, so block, embed, and all of that. They're coming from the theme, basically. So yeah. So that is the other thing. So let's go over. Have I closed it? Okay, yeah. Let's see. Change log. And I think those are the main things that we need to that we're checking from the change log. So we have cleaner markup now. The HTML is only when you apply local class. That's when the local class is applied. If you don't apply any local styling, there is no local class applied. So that is one nice feature. Oh yeah, the last one I forgot to mention is this edit text directly on canvas. One nice thing they've added now is, let me just close all the items that are not necessary. Now, before, you had to select here, then go into the content area to add your styles or your content. But now you can go directly into the canvas and edit from there. So if I just double click, I'm now within the edit of that element. So I can now go ahead and say maybe not hosting, but just host. And once I go out, it saves, basically. So, but the only thing that you have to double click first. So I double click, then it now gives me into the editing mode. And then I can start editing everything. So I can say privacy and security, or say maybe the and should be and like this. And that's it. So all of them, the same thing. If you want to style, add some text in the content area, which is something people do often. So you can just double click. You're now in the content area and you can start adding your content directly there. Once you're finished, click out of it and you're outside. So you see, if you can see the colors well, then you can notice that right now it is in this green color. But once I double click into it, you see that it now gives me this gray color and the outline around it. That means I'm editing this content. And that's it, yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's that. Yeah, still some little black lines. Yeah, I think that's what they added. So I think they added that black line to show you where exactly it is. So if I go in, then to add that black line around it to tell you that this is what I am editing. If I click out, then it goes out. So yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think the outline is a feature, not a bug. So it's only when you are editing. When you are doing all the other things, if you only click it once, you wouldn't see that black outline. It's only when you now double click into it, then it switches to this black outline to tell you that this is what you are editing. Just to give you a sense of, because you're doing inline editing in the canvas. If you're just editing like regular, so let's say you're editing from the sidebar, you wouldn't see any of those like outline. You just edit from the sidebar. The other thing now one other thing that is a nice feature that they added now is, I don't know if you've noticed, whenever I click on an element, so let me expand the whole of this thing so you can see it easily. Whenever I click on any element, so let's say this hosting, if I click on it, it also highlights directly in the builder. The same thing with when I click in the navigator, if I click on the A tag, it basically takes me into focus of what I'm editing. So that one is outlined. The other one is also both the canvas and the builder are linked together. So that is one nice thing now. So we're done with most of the changelog. That is what they call the smart viewport syncing. Okay, text editor. Let's see how the text editor looks like. Let's try. So I'll go to let's see. Do we have rich text? What's it called again? Text. So okay, so because it's using basic let's see if do we have any other, because I know I don't usually use any rich text element in any builder, so I don't know if we have it here. We have simple text, HTML, so we don't have any of those rich text kind of thing, if I'm not mistaken. So usually if you want to style, yeah. Okay, yeah, so yeah, the rich text version is not added, so everything is like basic text. You can do basic text styling. So if you want to style a span, you add a span element and then you style it there. Max, there is, you shouldn't be afraid of. Max just mentioned that he said we shouldn't ask him about improvements to the styling, because he said it will probably make it look cool, but that accessibility guys will jump on and try to, because I know we are always complaining. Accessibility experts always have complaints, but the complaints come from a right place. Usually, the thing is, accessibility is not like saying don't do anything. So we're not saying, let's say for example, you put an animation on your page. We're not saying don't put an animation. All we're saying is, whenever you put animation, then give the user some control to stop the animation, because the user might be in an awkward situation, because I think it was like last week or the week before, someone asked me to test something, one widget, one like overlay widget or overlay accessibility widget. It's not Elementor's version, so please don't attack me in the comments and do dislikes. But what happened was, the overlay widget, the moment you activate the widget, it just starts reading the entire screen out to the public. So the user is not even aware that that's going to happen. It's not like a screen reader where I know when I activate the screen reader, it's going to like announce with audio. This one, the user was not, we're not giving any forewarning. We had no idea. All we just do is you clicked on a button that's supposed to open a pop-up, but the moment that pop-up opens, it starts to announce everything on the page. And even when you press the stop button, it stops for just a few seconds and then it starts announcing again. And it was very disorienting and scared. But all they had to just do was either give the user some warning to say this is going to be reading out loud or something. Then the user knows beforehand, before he makes that mistake and creates problem. Yeah. So yeah, anything can be cool and accessible at the same time. It's not either cool or accessible. You can have both at the same time. You can use your GSAP animations, nobody's stopping you. You can use your anything you want to use, you can use it, as long as you are using it, you now think about what is the like repercussion for other people. So for example, if you put animation, there should be a way to stop it. So respect the user's browser preference, because every user, let me see if I can pull it up. Let me quickly switch my screen and I'll search for accessibility on, if I can, is it accessibility? Can't remember how let me just go to my settings, and I'll go to accessibility. Let's see. So every user, every Windows browser you have, if you have like a Windows PC, if you have a Mac, they always have these accessibility settings. So what they're saying is, if the user decides that, okay, I want to what's it called? Where is that? it's under the visual animations. Yeah. If the user decides to say, okay, I don't want animations, and it turns off this setting called animation effects, then respect the user's preference. That means automatically in your browser, use the CSS media query called prefers reduced motion, and disable that your animation. GSAP has it there, so you cannot tell me that you cannot do it with GSAP. GSAP gives you that option to disable animations when the user has this preference set up. So that is it. So the browsers, they know that not everybody likes everything, so they give you all of that. So if you have animations, just give the user options to disable the animation or at least reduce motion. That's why they call it prefers reduce motion. So they don't want those jumping things all around. You can make it, let's say when the user chooses this option, you can switch it from, rather than jumping into the page, it should fade into the page slowly, something like that. So just to help everybody, yeah. Exactly. It's like Ruben just mentioned. I need to set up my chat so that I can show it on screen. Like Ruben mentioned, if there's too much animation on the page, it can get very disorienting and people will just run away. So try not to do that. Well, let me quickly see. Just give me 1 minute to try to see if I can put the chat on screen. So let me go to my settings. And let's see again. Okay. Not overlay. Okay, message. Okay, I think I was copying the wrong link. That's why it wasn't working. So let me just quickly put the right link into the chat is going to disappear for a minute, I believe. And hopefully I'll be able to bring it back. So let's go to, where is live chat? Display. This is one thing, I already said it, I'm testing out some new systems, so that's why. Go back and see. Oh yeah, now it's working. Okay. So, got it. I was putting the wrong link, that's why it wasn't working. Oh, nice. I put the right chat on. So please, I love cakes, so don't forget my own portion of the cake. I think we're not too far apart, so you can send my portion of the cake via any means. Okay. But yeah, let me switch back my screen and we'll continue with the questions that the users asked on the Facebook group. So let's switch. Let me clear this. Okay, so the questions, let me close that first so that's nicer. Close. Let's close this as well. So I'm not just clogging the whole screen with unnecessary links. Okay. So the questions now are, we'll start from the easy ones. So let's start with the suggestions. So these were suggestions by one very nice community member. He has been creating some really nice like components that you can go ahead and check out in the community. If you are not in the Builderius community already, please join the community and you can give your feedback, give anything that you have. So basically, he was talking about the smart viewport syncing, and then he said that it doesn't open nested elements yet. But, okay, but they already said that it's planned, but let me just explain what that means. So let me open a page. So we'll say maybe I want to go to my pages, and what did I call any of the Builderius page? I think I can, let's just go to about, let me edit it. let's just edit the about page with Builderius. And what happens is let me just go to the home page. So, I forgot that I disabled something. Oh yeah, I should have not done that on the stream. Let me just quickly activate it back. Right. So go to settings, internals, and let me switch it back on. I was doing some tests and I disabled some buttons, so that's why I can't use my command UI. But yeah, so let's say I'm going to the home page, edit it. Oh yeah, I always forget that I'm using, because I use so many builders that I've been using Builderius, but I always forget that they can actually change the pages from here, either from the top or from the side, and you get the page. So let's just let me see home. Right? What is that? Not home? Did I not set it already? Okay, no. I think there's, why my page is not showing? This is, but yeah, well, let's just edit it with Builderius. Okay, so like I was saying, if all of these things are collapsed, so there's one nice option here that helps you to collapse all of the builder structure. So if you want just a quick, nice option, or if you want to expand everything, you can click on that. But you know, if it's expanded and I click on any of the items in the canvas, you see we can see it in the navigator as well. But if it was collapsed and I click on any of the elements, right now nothing shows because it is not visible here in the elements. So that's what the whole thing was about, that changelog. And let me just go to, okay, Builderius seems to not work with my, whenever I'm in the Builderius screen, it doesn't work with my command UI somehow. So home is under templates. Thank you for pointing it out. Home is under templates. So, but I'm trying to go to a page that is not actually within Builderius now. So I don't know, does that work? But let me just go to a post that's called Israel. So he was saying that it doesn't open nested elements. So that's what he meant there. If I try to open anything that is nested and is closed, it will not open it. But if it is expanded already and I click, then it will directly take me to where that element is. So I think that is something that they say they're already working on it. So that is just for your information. Then the other one is a system to report bugs and suggest improvements. I know a lot of page builders, they have that either public road, like public place where you can, like GitHub, or what does, I think Bricks uses, what do Bricks use again? So, but all of them have the different versions that they use so that they can have that conversation. You can report bugs in a more structured way. But I think for right now, if you want to report bugs, it's easier to just send them the support request and they will work on it immediately. So that is the two things that I noticed from Israel. Then let's go to the next one. Vijay had some questions. He said, the first question is, why do we need to have the header and footer in the structure panel when editing a page? And can we lock and prevent accidentally clicking and editing? So what does it mean? It means that when I'm in a page, you see we have site header, site footer. So we said, let me delete this. So why do we have it in the structure panel? That can't you mistakenly click on the header and edit it? But the answer is that Builderius is trying to give you as much freedom as possible so that you can edit anything you want to edit. Nothing is locked down. You know, like if you have with breaks, the header template is like in a magic area, the footer template is in another magic area. But in this case, everything that comprises of that page is shown right here in the structure panel. So, and you can't easily edit these components because a user cannot just mistakenly click on the component and edit. You wouldn't see anything to edit here. So you have to like use your what's it called? You have to be conscious effort to right click and click edit component. So you have to do like multiple steps. That's the only way you can get access into the header template to edit it. So that means that it has to be something that you do consciously. Yeah. So that is the thing that you shouldn't be worried about this. So what is happening that these are just components that are comprising the page. In case you want to add maybe an aside or something like that, you can easily add them to the exact portion of the template that you want. If you want to add maybe something before the header, like an aside before the header, like all those notifications that normally pop up, you can add the aside before the header. If you want to add an aside before the footer, you can do that. If you want to add any kind of region landmark, you can do that here. Whereas with other builders, you have to now use hooks and then use the hook template, and then you go to one magic area and do it there. But with this one, everything is done within this builder. So that is what's happening. Then the other question is, the main element can be accidentally deleted. So how do we get it back? And the reality is that everything is just a div. If you want to get the main, if you mistakenly delete any of the elements, you can easily recreate it. So let's say you want to recreate another main element. All you have to do is just click on the elements panel, you search for main, you add it to the page, and you simply give it the class name of page content or whatever class name that you wanted to add. Because not like these classes they're just okay, because I'm using what's it called? I'm using the minimal framework, so the page content class is not actually styled. It doesn't have any style in it. So that's why you cannot see it here unless you add some styles to the page content. If you see this page content, it's blank. There is no style added because I'm using the minimal setup. So no framework, nothing in this setup. So all you have to just do is you add the class as you want. So if I want to add page content, I'll say page-content, enter. I've added the class name, so I've gotten back the same structure. Main page content, main page content. So it's not really a big, that's the thing about Builderius. Nothing is really like forced on you. You can change anything you want. You can change the main. If maybe your page does not need a main tag, which I highly doubt it, you can change it. Yeah. So yeah, there's the answer there. Those are just components. So the header is a component. You can, in the pro version, you can create multiple components. Right now, you only have access to the site header component and the site footer component. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, yes. So sorry, I forgot that. Yes, the skip links. You also need to add an ID. So on the main tag, I'll go under the attributes. That's under this attribute is a HTML element. So I'll go under content and then attributes, add attribute, and I'll just say ID content. So that will now add the. So those are the two things that you just need to add to the main content area, and you get back the same thing that was there before, just the class name of page content and the ID of content. That's it. So I can go ahead and delete this. Then, what was the other question? Okay, yeah, this is another one that he said. The elements inserter panel should be reordered for a better user experience. That is, visually, so his suggestion is that, let me go to the add element to the element inserter. The suggestion is that right now, the way the structure is not really in a logical order, that it should be done in an order that is logical in how we build websites. So usually the header, main, and footer is already there, so those ones, they don't need to be in this place. The main elements that we normally put first is a section element. So he expects that the section should start, then the container, then maybe the heading, then, or let's say section, container, a div, then the heading, paragraph, link. So in the way that we normally like order our pages, that is the same way this whole section should be ordered. So the layout elements, then, but I guess the favorite is what I use a lot, right, or something. But basically, the idea is that what we use the most is the section element. So first section, then container, then a div, then we should have the heading, paragraph, and a link, and then we go down that way. So because that is the way we normally use pages. Yeah. So that's just the suggestion that he's having. And then the last one is that how to import classes and variables into the builder. For this one, basically it's only for the pro version. In the free version, there is no way to, as you can see, most of the things are locked up in the pro version. So the free version, you have to add them manually. If you want to add any class, you must add it manually. If you have the pro version, which is not out yet, so nobody has the pro version publicly. So if you have the pro version, then you'll be able to directly import your own CSS framework, your own classes, your own variables, and everything like that. You will also be able to use the CSS to be able to write your own CSS. But for now, we have to put it manually. So you come over to the elements, and let's say you want to add a new element. Yeah. Oh yeah, let me put that on screen. Okay, so honestly, I did not know. Because I always just search for my elements. I never actually scroll through any of these elements in any builder. Whenever I'm using my own, anytime I'm using the builder, I always just go to the search and I search for whatever I want. So that's why sometimes I don't even know some elements that exist in the builder, because I only just come over here. If I want a heading, I just search for a heading. If I want the text, I just search for text and I choose the one I need, either simple text for a span, the paragraph, or the heading. So to be truthful, I hardly ever scroll down to see any of these elements. Yeah. Okay, let's see. So if I see a little star when you hover, okay, so that's this. Okay, that's the favorite. If I want to remove it, let's say I click it, it's gone. Click it, click it, click it. Okay, so that's how we remove the favorite. So let's see if I want to add one. How does it add? Okay, so yeah. So okay, yeah, if you want to rearrange it, you can rearrange it yourself. So okay. So that answers the question that the favorite section is a user-defined area. So if you want to style it the way you want to, let's say you want to start with a section, then you want maybe a container. I'll just hover, click on container. Then let's say I want it. Well, why does it? Okay, yeah. I think the trouble is that everything is aligned in terms of like alphabetical order, right? If I go to a div and add a div, let's see. Oh no. Okay, it keeps, initially it was going in order of lower to higher, but now it started going higher to lower. Okay, so my bad. Yeah. I totally agree with this one. We need, I think it's already in the roadmap. We need undo, we need redo, we need to have Control Z to undo the same functionalities we have in most users. So we have that. I think that is a good thing. We should have those like favorites. So we have like redo, undo, save, a shortcut key to go to the search. We need to have a shortcut key to go to the elements inserter. Those basic things that we normally do as users. They should have some hotkeys for those. Okay, so, but yeah, I think the favorites, that now that I didn't know that, so now everybody should know. If you want to add a favorite, when you hover, you see there's a little star icon at the top left hand corner. That is to remove it. If you are already in the favorites area, if you want to remove it, I can just come over, and I think it's a bit buggy. If I come here and okay, so it's only when I come. Okay, so if it comes up after a while, doesn't come out immediately. Okay, so I guess it's just maybe it was deliberate that if I hover I have to wait for like 2 seconds, then the favorites icon comes up. So I guess that's maybe deliberate. And then you can remove them. And then when you want to add a new one, so let's say I remove all of them. Okay, yeah, so it's deliberate. There's a delay. So if I want to add like this, the section first, so I'll wait, then add it. Then if I want to add a container, I'll wait, add that. I want to add a div, wait, and add that, and so on. So all of those elements, it's in order. So start from the newest to the oldest. Okay, so yeah, that's a good point. Then what else did we? I think those are the main questions that Vijay had. Then the last one was by Marius, which I guess I will read it, and I guess people should come up with like suggestions on what do you think. I think that would be the best way for the Builderius team to know what to do. So basically, this is paraphrased from ChatGPT because it was very long. So there are 2 basic points that he has. He says the first question is that what is the purpose of that .builderiusContent container? There is if I go over and I preview it, you see the same thing with most builders, like I believe like Astra theme. If you have any of the block themes, they always add one wrapper div. So you see they have the body, then there's a wrapper div called builderiusContent. Then there we have the header, the main, and if I created a footer, there will be a footer, and so on. So he's asking, what's the purpose of this wrapper div that has the class name of builderiusContent? And let's go ahead and read the question. So he said, what benefit does having an extra .builderiusContent container give users? Other tools will add their own DOM elements anyway, which Builderius can't control. So when Builderius doesn't start at the body level, users suffer and they need to use some workarounds to be able to like hook into the header, the main, the footer. That it becomes harder to hook into those elements if it doesn't start directly from body, then into the header, main, footer. Then he said, forcing this container on users is unnecessary. I have many reasons why this approach is problematic. As I discussed in the Quickly forum, wanting a clean DOM structure is an entirely valid point. One simple example is that elements can't be targeted by CSS selectors when not at the body root level. I'm not sure I totally understand this point, but I guess he has a point. You can't anticipate all user needs or structures, so Builderius may not be the only tool used in projects. You are forcing users into the same situation you criticize in breaks. I shouldn't need hooks because of a needless container. The reality is, even when those containers are not there, if you want to add elements like in the PHP, you still need hooks. Like, if either you're adding those contents like directly in the builder, so it's either you're adding those contents directly in the builder, like maybe you want to add a short code or anything directly in the builder, you add it that way, or you use the hooks provided by the theme to add the elements. most themes like breaks, they add some like PHP function so that you can hook into that function and inject your content. So I'm not sure what adding the Builderius content. I know that, okay, generally I would love for us to have total control. So no need for wrapper divs. If possible, maybe they can add the .builderius class name directly to the body element and then use that in styling so that we don't have to have that wrapper div. But that does not really mean that it breaks anything. I'm not sure it breaks anything, because usually you either add, if you're injecting anything in JavaScript, most times you inject it to before like the body open class or the body close class, or you inject it I don't know, through PHP using hooks that were provided by the builder or the designer or anything. So I'm not sure I understand that point completely, but yeah. Okay, so yeah, he said there is already some answers added. Okay, so he said he has arguments for it, but there's no arguments against it. Because for me, I feel, okay, I know we always want to have that total control. Every designer wants to have total control, so that's why I'm not against him asking that question, because I believe maybe he wants in such a way that we can white label the entire web design thing so that nothing with the name Builderius will be imprinted in the page. Maybe that's one of the things he wants. And the second thing is that some people don't like adding that wrapper div to the body. Like, I remember I watched one of Kevin Powell's videos where he said the same thing, that there are some some users who don't like adding wrapper, so they want to have the main. Immediately after the main, they want to have the header body. After the body, I mean, from the body, they want to have the header, main, and footer. They don't want to have any wrapper in there. So it all depends on them. I don't know. Okay, so, but that is that. And Sandra asked a question. Sandra's peeps. He said, how can inline elements such as spans be added to text within a paragraph? So I think for now, you have to add it yourself, or let me go ahead and show you an example. So let's say we are in a page, and let's go ahead and let me just collapse everything. Okay. Then let's say in this element, you want to add like inline element. I think for now, the only way to add them is because everything here is nestable. So even this heading is nestable. So if you can come over to the heading, to the primary, delete this, and say you want to add 2 span elements into that heading. So I'll say maybe I want a text, and I want to add like 3 span elements. So the first one will be, this is the first, then space. The second one, maybe this one will be like, I think is there an address element? No. Well, let's say you want to add, yeah, basically you can change, maybe one of them will be a span, the other one will be another element like an A tag, and you can say the link. So I think that's the only way you can do it for now. So yeah, I think this is one way to do it. The other way is you can literally add your tags. I think you can add it here, h1 span my name / span, and it's the same thing. So in the end, if you go to the front end, save it and preview, if you go in there and inspect, you see span my name, the other spans, and everything is there. So yeah, that is that. Then what was the second question? I think there was one more question. The other question was, why do we have the increased specificity for local styles? and let's go ahead and see what it means. So let's say I'm styling like the heading. I'll do 2 stylings. So I'll say maybe I'll create a global class called test heading, and I'll give it a style of maybe background and a background color of let me not use the background color. Let me use a regular color. So under the typography and colors, I'll say maybe the color is primary. Let me go ahead and remove the background color from the, where was it? Yeah, it was here. Get rid of that. Okay, so we have this span and this colors there. So this is what the question is now. Okay, so when we have this span, then I go over and I try to style the same heading. So rather than using the global class now, let's say I want to style it, close that. I want to style it on the local class, which is one nice thing now, that to make people not get confused, they have changed the name from root to, I don't know if you can see it, local, so that we know that we're styling on the local level. So there is percentage, local, percentage. So now let's say I'll go back to that same color, and that's under typography and color, and I say I want the color now this time to be green. No, or let me just use regular name, green. So I don't want to use variable. Let me clear the variable and just say I want it to be green, and I save it. So he's now this is the whole point of having the increased specificity, is so that we are very sure that the local class will always override the global class, because sometimes anything can happen, and maybe for one weird reason, maybe you are using some optimization plugin and the global class style sheet gets loaded after the local class style sheet. In the end, your local classes or local styles will not be applied. But now with this one, the local styles will always override the global class. So if I go over and if you inspect it, this is what he was complaining about. And that's the fact that if I go to my H2, we get these 2 classes. We have the test heading class and the uninode class, but the uninode class like supersedes it, and the reason is because it adds the style as a 2 class selector. So it starts with .builderiusContent, then .uninode, and then that. So that one has a 2 class specificity, which now overrides the global CSS called test heading. And that's the whole purpose. That the whole point is that we want to be sure that local classes will override global classes, because the global styles don't necessarily have to be added in the builder. Somebody can be adding global styles from his style sheet, and his style sheet is maybe loaded after our local classes, and then you start to wonder, why am I adding my local styles and it's not working? You start to get worried that, okay, I'm adding my local styles, nothing is working, because you've added a global class and then styled it maybe in your WP code box, and WP code box will add its own style sheet after every page builder. So that will not override anything you're trying to do inside of the builder. So that's why they now decided to make the specificity just a little bit higher to 2 class specificity. So I don't know what do you think? Is that a bad idea? Is that a good idea? What are the benefits and the drawbacks? Let me know in the comments, and we'll see. Okay, so yeah, following up on Sandra's Pips question, there was the example that, what if we want to add things like, because he was asking about inline elements, if you want to add like maybe inline, you want to add something like the time element, or you want to add a strong element and things like that, it will become difficult to add them. But with So that's where there was the response that this is a limitation, so, and they will think about it in a better way. So we'll see how they come up with a solution. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Advanced Thema, they have that option where you can add inline elements even into another element. They have one nice like box that you can add a span and other things like that. So maybe that's something to look into. Okay, so let's see. Let me switch over and we'll continue. Let me close all of these. So is it? Okay. So I guess he has provided some more explanation that even within the canvas area, maybe is kind of like inline styling. I believe that's what he's asking about. Highlighting the text should now give you options to like maybe put a bold or an italic or maybe a strong or whatever like the text area should provide. The way was that we normally have with some of these other, like if you're using a word processor, whereby when you highlight a text, it gives you this option to, if you want to change the color of the text, you want to change maybe you want to make it a strong tag, you want to make it an emphasis and anything like that. Okay. Then, so yeah, those are the main questions that were asked. Let me see if I've also done mine as well under David. And yes, so this is another thing I was hoping about. I don't know if it can be added as a feature request as well, this contextual menu in the navigator, because there are times when maybe I have an element and I want to just quickly wrap that element in a div. If I right click, there is no like, if there can be an option to wrap in a div, that would be awesome. Because right now we have to go to the elements inserter, we'll put a div, and then you now come back and then you start trying to move that element into that div. That is like a 3-step process, whereas you can just right click. I think even in Gutenberg we have that option where you just right click and then you say wrap in a block or something like that, or maybe it's in GrainShift, I'm not sure, but you can just wrap in a div. So that is one option that we might want to have. The other option is, or the other thing is, to rename elements. Right now we can't rename the elements from the navigator. We have to basically come over to the element inserter. So let me say I click on the div. You get the name here, which is another limitation here. If I triple click, it's highlighted, but I can't see any highlighting color. So I'm hoping that once I triple click, there should be some highlight color. So maybe I don't know what's it called, the studio class for highlight, and then change it. Oh, thank you for joining in today. I really appreciate it. So yeah, if I want to, if I triple click, it's highlighted, but I didn't see any highlight notice. So I can now highlight it and say maybe this container is called David. And you see it's applied there. So the two things I would like for the inserter panel, if I right click in the navigator, there should be a way to wrap in a div. And the other option is that if I right click, they should be able to rename the element directly from here. So if I click rename, maybe I can rename it directly from the navigator without having to go into the elements panel and other things like that. If that can be added. And yeah, that is the main questions that I had. The last question we will answer, if there are no other questions, is the one about the ACF. I don't know if I have ACF installed here, so let me go ahead and install ACF. So let's see. Or I have metabox, so let me try with metabox. So I'll go over to, let me go to metabox. and I have a post type, or let me just go to my custom fields and add a custom field to the post, because in the free version you don't have access to custom meta fields and custom, like, you don't have access to custom post types and custom taxonomies. It's only the regular posts and pages. So that is something you need to remember in here. But although I think you should be able to just use the query loop and loop through it. So let me go ahead and use an example of, I believe I have a page called events. Yes, I have a page called events, and each of those events, they have some meta fields. So let's see if we can pull this data. Let's go to the collections. So I'll come over to, let's see, let me delete all of these, and I'll add element collection, because I'm trying to query loop the events. So under the collection, I'll now go over, so let me click on it and go to the content. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. So I just got confirmation you can't pull custom post types. So unless you have the pro version, so that will not work. So all you can do is use posts and pages. If you have posts and pages, you can pull those, but not custom post types. All of those are restricted for the pro version. Unless you have some other tool, like something like dynamic shortcodes, you can still pull in some data from custom post types into the builder if you have some extra third-party add-ons. But yeah, so that is about it. Those are the questions that were asked, and those are the answers for now. If you have any other questions, please let me know in the comments, and I will try to answer those questions. The only thing that I will check out now is one more thing, which I just posted on my Facebook yesterday, and that is about some new cool features I found out in HTML that have come out, such that you can literally create a pop-up, or like, you know, one of those your modal dialogues, without writing any JavaScript. Like literally everything will be done in HTML and CSS. That is how far we are going, and I'll quickly try to show you an example, and you'll see that you don't need to use any JavaScript at all, and it will work. So for this one, I'll be using CodePen, I think, to make it easy. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, let's continue with the SCF field before I go into that. Or let's switch. So, but since I think you said we cannot pull in data from a custom post type, right? If I try to pull in data from a source, I can only pull data from. So the only thing I can do now is on a post or a page. So let's go to a page, and let me go to, let's say, I'll go to metabox again, and I'll add a custom field, but this time I have to add it directly to the post or page, because it doesn't work with custom post types for now unless you have the pro version. Okay. And yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You can't, or can you pull data from any field? You won't be able to pull in data from any field, I think. Let me delete this whole collection, and I go to like my container. If I try to pull in data from a field, it has to be from the current post, right? So that's why I'm trying to add a meta box to the current page, because I can't pull data from a separate page. Or how do I do that? Let's say meta box. If I try to pull from the start date, because I'm not in that current post, it wouldn't work. Or is there a way to pull data from another post using the free version? Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to create a let me create a field, because right now let me just create a meta field called test post fields, and I'll just put a text, and that should be, let's say, just leave it as text, and then exactly. So that's what I'm saying. That all the fields I have right now are in a custom meta field. I need to add a field into the current post. So that's what I'm trying to create, a field for the current post. So let's go to, and then the post type will be pages. And let me say, then, and let me just add publish. So that is a text field of my pages. So my pages, what page am I on? The front page. So under home, edit it, and then I'll just put this, the text is called text, and I'll say David is good. Save. And let's go to the front end. Let's go ahead and refresh. And let me go ahead, and because I didn't save, that's what I think. Delete. I always forget to save, and then I refresh. I think there should be a warning if the changes have not been saved and we're trying to refresh the page. It should give us a warning that you have not saved changes or something like that. Just having this green is not enough, because a user will just mistakenly refresh the page, maybe press Ctrl R or use the refresh button. So there should be like a thing to prevent refreshing the page until, like, just give us a warning pop-up until we save the page. Because I've done that twice already, and I've lost all the editing I just did. Okay, so now I'll add a basic text, and in here I can now pull in data from my text field. So I just need to search for, that's why to give you post metabox, and then it will tell you what the field name is. So that is the text, and I'm pulling in my data. So that's how you can pull in data into the post. If you have the pro version, you'll be able to like query easily. You'll be able to easily query any custom post type, and then you'll be able to pull in the data from that custom post type and anything like that. So that's how easy it is. So you can just come over to the dynamic tags, and I believe it should be somewhere all the way down. Post. Let's see. Yeah, post meta value. It now gives you all of them. This is the only one I created. Text. The other ones are for a custom post type, so that's why they're here, but I can't use them because I need to be like querying that post first somehow. So this is that one is there to text, and we get our text. So yeah, I totally agree. The devs are very active, and they listen to feedback. That is one nice thing about dev teams. I like when the dev teams listen to feedback, and once they like agree with the feedback, then they start implementing it. The things that I don't like the most is when a dev team tells me they will look into it, but then there's no feedback as to whether they agree with what I said or whether they're going to make any changes. Is it going to be on the roadmap? You have no idea. All they just tell you is, we will get back to you. And that's it. That's the end. There's no more communication about that thing. Even when it's fixed, they would not communicate back to you sometimes. It's just, that communication line should always be kept intact. So when I make a complaint, you take on that like complaint, you look at it, you agree that, okay, the complaint makes sense. You give me a feedback to say, okay, we've looked at it and we've added it into our PR or whatever, so that they can start working on it. And maybe in a few weeks or something, if possible, at least give people just go back to some of those. Maybe if you have a GitHub repository or anything, once in a while, just maybe one of your the dev team members. Now, I'm not talking about Builderius now. I'm talking about in general. Maybe once in a while, whether it's breakdowns or anything, just let your team just go in there once in a while and say, we are still working on it. We have not forgotten about you. So that the people who asked those questions will know that it's being worked on. Because it can be very like disheartening when somebody spends all his time crafting a very nice bug report and sends it, and then the only feedback he gets is, we'll look into it. If our dev teams agree, we will work on it. And then for 2 years, there is no more communication, nothing. You don't hear anything back from them. You start to feel like nobody is listening to me. So hopefully, I hope that the dev team from Builderius will keep the communication line open and then just keep responding to users. It may not be that they may never actually even solve the problem, but at least that communication line should just be open. Say, sorry, we are still looking for the best solution to this problem. Just maybe like once every 2 months or maybe a month if it's something that is very big that needs lots of work. But rather than just the bug report is there is no communication. People, like 10 or 15 people come and complain or write comments. There is still no communication until they've solved the problem. Then they will come back and tell you the problem has been solved. I've noticed that with some dev teams, which I can totally understand. There's a lot of support requests and things like that, so that can become very hard. But yeah. Okay, so yeah. Switching between from section to div, remove padding. Yeah, because I think the reason, because if you are using the Builderius, their default widget, I think the section element has a default padding added to it. So when you switch it to a div, the div doesn't have any like default padding. I think most builders, they style the section element to have some padding. So when you change it from a section to a div, that padding is removed. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's what I mentioned. Okay, yeah. The pro version definitely will have the allow you to add, because you can actually add, in a way, you can add some, if you know how to do it. You can use like the REST API to pull data from custom posts, but that is a long thing. Yeah. So, but the free version, they don't give you the UI option to be able to pull data from some of these custom post types and all of those things. Some of the functionality is there, but you have to use a workaround and a long workaround. But if you have the pro version, then those options will be there directly for you. So you can just easily get it. You can get the custom post type to query. You can query post. You can pull in data from a custom field on another post and other things like that. So yeah. Is there any other questions while I just keep showing you the dialogue element, just for showing sake, until if there are any questions, I will jump back into the questions. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so I think there's because like I said, I'm not using the Builderius framework, so I can't answer that question directly. But yes, I think there's a CSS variable for the section padding. So if you want to add that class name on section, but they give a default class, the default styling to section elements. Okay, so yeah, while I'm here, let me see if I can just pull up. I would need to use that might close the nightly version of Chrome. So Chrome nightly version, do I have it installed on this? Yeah, I do. And let me see. Hopefully the browser doesn't close, because the nightly version sometimes is very buggy. What I'm trying to check is CodePen and Let me just open a new pen. Let me see it work. I should be adding more items into my code pen. Right now I just do random test and I delete. I do another random test and I delete, and it's a bit weird. But let's see. So basically, let me open this in a new pen. Just copy this and show you people how nice it is now. So let me go back and let me create a new pen. How do I do that again? Pen. Okay, so here we have, I have no CSS, I have no JavaScript, but watch what happens when I click on the open button. It opens the pop-up. If I click on the cancel button, it closes the pop-up. And literally, there is no CSS, there is no JS. And if you look at the inspect it, if I inspect this, if I click on it, open, right click, inspect, every accessibility thing that should be added is added directly without having to write any JavaScript or anything like that. So that is where we are going to, but it only works in Chrome dev version for now. I think it will take about a year or so before it gets into other browsers. But basically, you can see it has the option for ARIA modal. The ARIA modal is set to true automatically. You don't have to write it yourself. The role is set to dialog automatically. It has the backdrop. Everything just adds directly by just using a few lines of HTML. And you can also style it using CSS to animate how it opens, how it closes, everything using. So basically just using HTML and CSS in the future, we'll be able to open and close popovers, open and close modals, and everything like that. Yeah. So if you look at it, all I just had is button, which I always advocate for in all of these like page builders. I always hope that the page builder will use the right HTML element. I don't know. Some page builders, they love to use A tags for like button row, like elements that perform actions. They'll be using an A tag. The trouble with using that is it limits so many things that you can take advantage of. You cannot do it anymore. You have to now start relying on JavaScript to do those actions. Whereas if you just use a button element, it comes with so many things, so many event listeners and everything just buckled up with it without having to write any JavaScript. Those things just work. So now you don't even need to write JavaScript anymore. You see, let me go back to the code. You can see all I did is say I'm using a button element, and then I'm saying the type is button. Then I just say, okay, the only thing I'm adding now is just ARIA has pop-up, because there's still no way for the button to automatically know that it's opening a pop-up. So just for screen reader users. Then this is where the click action happens using these two commands. So command, then you give it the ID of the element you're trying to open. So command show modal. This is the command. Then what am I commanding? I'm commanding the dialog. That's the ID here, the dialog. The command I'm trying to do is I can either use show or show modal. Show does something different. Show is for non-modal dialogues, whereas show-modal is for modal dialogues. The moment you do that, automatically it creates a dialog element. And the other thing you can add as well is, let's say you have a link. So ahref equal to maybe asterisk and /a, and say, what have I done? This is a test. Let me just write test link. And I save it. Okay, now let me. So now, if I want the link to be the first element that should be focused on, all I have to just do is, again, no JavaScript needed. All I have to just do is write auto focus. And that's it. If I now click on the link, you see, I don't know. Okay, I didn't add, let me just add a CSS. So CSS, I'll say the A tag, focus, should be color red. I think that should work. Let me see if I believe that is the only, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but that is how it should work. So click. Oh no, maybe, okay, maybe that option is not working out. I guess that's one of the options that's not working out yet with the command, because ideally what happens is it will now if I use the JavaScript version of show dialog, it will have opened the dialog and then focused on the link using just these autofocus attributes. But I guess maybe that's something that is still a work in progress, I guess. But yeah, so that is, in the future, we'll be able to do so many like interactions without the need for JavaScript. So many things will be there and they will be accessible. We'll have like carousels. Those carousels will be accessible without having to write any JavaScript. All we have to do is write the correct HTML attributes, and then we'll use CSS and everything will be accessible. So yeah, I think that is it. Let's see if there are any other questions. Okay, .container class, yeah. Okay, yeah, because the way I build websites is I don't actually add padding to sections, and I learned that from Josh, either Kevin Powell or one lady, I can't remember her name. Basically, they came up with this solution whereby they use the max width using calc function. So the calc do 100% minus whatever padding you wanted, then comma, you now put the max width you want and everything. So everything now works using the max width only, gives you the same like experience you'll have gotten when you wanted to use like section padding. So that is what I use nowadays, but you can use any way how you want. It's not like it's anyhow you feel is like more understandable to you, use that method. But yeah, so that is that. If you have any questions, any comments, let me know. Otherwise, in about a minute or two, we'll be closing up for today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please do leave a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up so that it can help me out in terms of the YouTube algorithm to know that the video is helpful. So don't forget to leave a thumbs up. And let me just go through the comments. I see there are lots of chats in the comments about sections and containers. Okay. And there are so many different CSS properties that we can use to overcome so many different problems. There is you can use the has property. So say maybe if a section has a div, then do this style. If the section doesn't have the div, don't do another thing. You can use those container inline container queries. You can use popovers. You can use the anchor CSS rather than JS. So many things are just coming up which are awesome. So hopefully as new CSS rules come out, I will also be doing some videos showing you how those CSS work and how they can be applied to help with improving your browser experience. Although you have to take with caution, because you have to always remember that backwards compatibility is important. So try not to use a CSS that is not like tagged as widely available. For example, let me switch over and let me go ahead and close this. So if you go to something like dialog, can I use? Well, I wrote Y, okay. So just make sure that it says widely available across major browsers before you use the property. If it says newly available, like I believe it is, what's an example of something that is new? Container query. Let's see. Okay, size. All of them are still work in progress. This is limited. Because you see it's on limited availability, then try to avoid that. If you see things that are like limited availability or newly available, still try to avoid it unless it is something that will not break your website. Then you can use those. But yeah, and things like that. So, but some of them are already fully, because you can see once the thing gets to a certain number of browsers, then it becomes widely available, and then you can easily use it on your websites. Yeah. Okay, so thank you all for your questions, for sticking around. Thank you for being here. I think we'll be jumping off now, so thank you all. And yeah, if you have been following the chat, you can use utopia.fyi to use I think it's utopia.fyi. That is a good tool to, let me put it in the chat. For doing like your clamp calculators, your different kind of calculators. If you want to ever use all of those, like type scale, you want to use the space, the grid, you want to create some variables. I think if you are a follower of, I believe Imran from Web Squadron also has his own CSS generators. I think a lot of people have CSS generators, but I think this is the most popular one people use, utopia.fyi. So you can just go there, you put in the minimum width, the maximum width, and then it will generate some clamp functions for you. So you can use this step. You can change the names, I believe. I remember, yeah, you can change the prefix. So if you don't want it to be step, you want it to be font dash size, you can do that, and it will generate it for you. Yeah. Oh, originally, well, for my voice, you know, originally I'm from Nigeria, but now I live in the UK. So that's where I've been living for a long time now. But originally, I am from Nigeria. Okay. Yeah. So, thank you all for coming today. Thank you for joining. There are some announcements I'll make, and after the announcements, I'll say a big thank you. So the announcements are, one, in about 2 weeks, that is on the 9th of April. Sorry about the poor text quality. It was my fault. But on the 9th of April, let me go ahead and put it in the chat. I will be speaking alongside Angela Bowman about building Elementor sites with accessibility in mind. So you can come along to just learn about accessibility, about some simple tips. We're not going complex tips, just simple tips that you can use to improve accessibility when you're building sites with Elementor. Oh, yeah. Then we have the next one, which is the WordPress Accessibility Day. Is happening on the 15th to the 16th of October. That is a free 24-hour event. So we can go in. Let me paste it in the chat. So that event is free to attend, but you can always donate. Donations are always welcome. You can just join the mailing list. When it is about time, they will email you about the event. Then the other thing which is coming up a lot closer is the Page Builder Summit, which is happening on the 12th to the 16th of May 2025. I was speaking to Nathan yesterday or the day before, and he said I should announce this, so I'm announcing it. And there are lots of confirmed speakers that I know, some very good speakers, so you can go join it. It's also free online. You can join in. You can get some inspiration about everything about using page builders. I know a lot of people know PK Son. If you are a breakdance user, you know him. Then we have Nicole Osborne, she does a lot of LinkedIn tips. We have Sarah. She is a very good content management strategist, so she can help you with like how you can successfully write content, and so many other people. There will be more people joining as we go along. Then what else? These were the past partners, so they've partnered with a lot of different big companies, and if you want to partner with them, you are highly welcome to partner with them and to like be a sponsor. You can be a micro sponsor. My wonderful Metafield plugin, CrocoBlock. I really like CrocoBlock and their tools, so they were also one of the sponsors last year, and others. So yeah, those are the announcements for today, and I want to say thank you all for joining in, and I'll see you next week. Next week, Thursday, we'll be doing our usual live stream. I'll be talking about dynamic shortcodes, so that is going to be next week. Same time as my Thursday live stream. So usually on Thursdays, I go live at 3 p.m. UTC, but from next week, we'll be going into the daylight savings. So it'll be basically 4 p.m. UTC. No, 2 p.m. UTC, I mean, sorry, because it's going to be UTC plus 1. The BST will still remain as 3 p.m. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.